I think it's worth mentioning the process of the certification. So we'll just run you through the sequence, the stages. Luckily, it's very simple. It is a 3-step process. We start off with an information gathering portal. So it's an online form that gets sent out to the client's side. It's worth mentioning that all of these processes are carried out remotely. That's how we operate globally. The information gathering process is very straightforward, where the client or the client's team is responsible for providing us with all the necessary information and evidence that we need. This can be in the form of floor plans if it's a new development, it can be photographic evidence if it's an existing building, descriptive information, purchase orders, statements of intent. So the type of evidence really varies. This is quite crucial because it helps speed up the process. We don't expect anything to physically be in place for us to assess it or recognize it. It can be in the early stage of design, and we can still use that as substantial evidence. Once we've received all the necessary information and that has been uploaded onto our portal, that gets submitted to us. Following that, we move on to the preliminary assessment stage. That's step 2. This is when the client will receive a comprehensive, detailed report outlining all of our scored topics alongside suggestions for improvement where possible. So this is where we have the opportunity to advise our clients on what improvements they can introduce, whether it is infrastructure related, whether it's layout related, whether it is service providers. This is the opportunity where we can connect them with the right people in the industry. We can provide them advice that they can put into practice.
I think that's a very important point, Alex, because what we found from obviously ActiveScore, and we know it's going to be the same with ModeScore, is that clients really appreciate being introduced to product suppliers, service providers, etc. They don't. What part of the value of this is them not having to go and find them themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, they like the fact that that is handed over to experts in the industry, and they can rely on us putting them into contact with the right people in the industry. However, it's worth mentioning that they're not tied to the recommended suppliers and services that we put forward. Yeah. We just give them suggestions, vetted suggestions that they can take on board. However, if they have their own service providers or product suppliers that they've worked with over the years and they trust and they like, then they're more than welcome to use them, as long as they meet our quality requirements. That's all we expect. Okay, so that is the preliminary assessment. They have the opportunity to introduce improvements, liaise with us and the team to make sure that the improvements they introduce have a positive impact on their overall score and obviously the user friendliness of their building and surrounding area. And then once all of these improvements and evidence has been vetted and verified, we move on to the final step, which is the formal assessment. At that point is when we formalize all of the requirements, we formalize all of the evidence, and we issue the marketing material and certificate. However, this doesn't end the process. Like Alexi said, it's continuous improvement that we encourage. So throughout their license term, clients are able to continuously make improvements, provide us with this evidence, the information, at which point we can take that on board and continuously improve their overall rating. So it doesn't end at the formal assessment. They can continuously make improvements throughout their license term. The final step, step 3, is the formal assessment. This is where we verify all the information provided and we issue the client with the relative marketing material and certificate for them to publicly announce that they are ModeScore's certified. We'll talk about the time it takes to actually go through these 3 steps. Usually it takes between 4 to 5 weeks to go from the start to the finish of the certification process. This varies depending on how quickly we receive the information from the client or their team. It depends on how quickly they can provide us with the evidence. However, as we don't require anything to physically be in place, like we said in the beginning, that helps speed up the certification process because a lot of it can be done through different types of evidence.